First of all, thank you, Crypto Carnival, for having us here. I really appreciate to share our thoughts about the ecosystem. As I'm talking a little bit about me, I'm currently the technical project manager for the Forest project at ChainSafe. So Forest is a node implementation of the Filecoin networks in Rust. So we have various node implementations across the Filecoin network, Lotus being the reference implementation, as well as you have Puhon in C++ and Venus in Go. And we are the Rust implementation for the Filecoin network, adding to the client diversity. So that's a little bit about me and what I do. I will pass on to Taurus, and maybe perhaps you can introduce yourself and then pass it on to somebody else.
Hi, good day. I'm Taurus, and I'm the CEO and founder of TaylorChain. We've been actually working on this, started working in this project for the past 5 years, and we had been at the beginning where we had certain incognitos on the development of blockchain and the interoperability. And so at the beginning, as you all know, it's always many problems to solve. So we actually have finally, after this so many years, managed to avoid this island effect that every blockchain has. So proud to be here. Proud to announce that we have overcome all of this, and we are hope that actually we are probably on the edge of being on the next generation of what blockchains are.
Cool, thank you, Taurus. Who wants to go next? Perhaps Dan?
Sure, yeah, great to be here. Thanks, Crypto Carnival and Lee. I'm Lee's co-worker. I'm not sure if everyone can see, but we have a similar taste and fashion. So I work alongside Lee at ChainSafe, working on our Golang implementation of a client for the Polkadot network. So I'm a software engineer that's been working in the blockchain space for about the past 2 years, and now I'm serving as a technical project manager for Gossamer. So really happy to be at ChainSafe and really happy to be here at Crypto Carnival talking about ecosystem. And last but certainly not least, I'll pass it off to Sir DJ.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody, and thanks to Crypto Carnival. And just want to give a quick shout out to Brenda, who got me set up in this whole thing. My name's Kibwana, but I go by Sir DJ, the GOAT. The GOAT part was kind of given to me by my community, just for, I guess they can really consider me the greatest of all time at what I do. But basically, I'm the senior project director at LONDEX, which is a crypto project on the Binance Smart Chain. And yeah, we started LONDEX back on August 8th as Baby London. That was the original name. And it was an appreciation for the Ethereum hard fork upgrade that Ethereum network did. And we wanted to bring Binance Smart Chain investors a token that offered them Ethereum reward payouts. So we started Baby London on August 8th and transitioned to LONDEX in October to obviously give it a more professional feel. And now we are transitioning into our whole utility and our whole platform is an exchange, as well as many other features that our platform hosts. And yeah, thank you guys for having me today.
Cool. Well, thank you, Sir DJ, for the introduction on LONDEX. Let's see. So we'll move through some of the questions. Perhaps everybody can take a chance at answering one of them, or if they want to have some input on that, feel free. Maybe some of the questions may not be relevant to everybody, so you can probably, the best thing is to raise a hand with the little Zoom button here, and whoever has some input, we can go from there. So first question, let's go through ecosystem, right? So blockchains are about ecosystems. So how do we see what ecosystems are being developed at this point, and how do we think about ecosystem. We'll just start off very wide and probably narrow down. Anybody has any thoughts they want to speak on what it means to have an ecosystem in the blockchain world? All right, we have two hands, Dan and Sir DJ. Let's go with Sir DJ first because I saw the Sir DJ's hand first, and then we move to Dan.
Thanks, Lee. I think ecosystem is very important. I kind of like to think of I can only truly speak on, if I'm being honest, the Binance ecosystem that's currently there, as that's mainly the only network that I've really dealt with. But in terms of like other ecosystems that I've seen emerging, such as Kronos and what's the other one, Phantom, you know, these are all very interesting networks and stuff that are coming up. But I think it's very important for like the communal aspect. I believe it's a big part of these network success ultimately. And I really think that what's going on in the BSC it is kind of daunting at times given its reputation, but with projects like LONDEX and like others like that are trying to clean up the space and really make it a smarter place for investors and not only smarter but a safer place. I think that's a main factor in the success of ecosystems.
Cool. Thank you, Sir DJ. Dan, any thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely think a lot about ecosystem, and in particular, I would say I spend most of my time thinking about developer ecosystems and kind of what that means. I think that, certainly where we're at in the space, there's still a lot of room to build out the infrastructure and the development platforms that people are using to build Web3 technologies. And I especially think, since most of our software is open source, that lends a very important community aspect to it. And I certainly understand Sir DJ's feeling about being daunted sometimes because, community management in a space that values decentralization and individualism and freedom, it can be challenging to kind of get everyone in line. But I think one of the ways that we really think about it at ChainSafe, and that I really enjoy thinking about it, is just in terms of creating a community or an ecosystem of enthusiastic users by, building out great products and great experiences that meet their needs. So yeah, lots of room to build out new and innovative types of ecosystems and communities with Web3 technologies.
Well, thank you for your input, Dan. Taurus, any thoughts on ecosystem or community building as a whole? Sorry, you're muted, I think.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, sure. So the there's been a little issue regarding the evolution of this ecosystem. We've been having an inflow of new dApps, new technologies being developed on blockchains, which is actually gradually enlarging the ecosystem and actually expanding it to a greater extension of society. The thing is that as we are growing and growing larger, there's apparently a point where there's how could I put this down? As we grow bigger and bigger, the problem of security is becoming a little issue. And this is what I've been actually have been observing lately. So we are actually handling a few of the features and tools appearing into this development of ecosystem. Might be either inside the chain itself, or other the applications, or the future features that are going to come later. But as I can see, that we are facing a little flex point where that the accumulation of features might get the this ecosystem more complex, more I would say endangered. In other words, with parts of weakened securities.
Cool. Thank you very much for the insight and your input. Cool. Okay. All right. So looks like we have kick-started this panel with a little bit of our ecosystem talk. So let's move on to a different question to change things up a little bit, right? So what do you guys think are the biggest problems or bottleneck in this industry? And I will say, let's not talk about scaling, because that's the stuff that I've been hearing for so many years. So let's pick something else. You know, what are the different bottlenecks that we think are affecting the industry right now? Not sure if Sir DJ, you have this hand raised right now, or it was from before, but
oh yeah, no, I totally was eager beaver there on that question.
Okay.
For sure.
All right.
Yeah, so definitely I think and obviously going back to what I know, I definitely think that a couple of the bottlenecks, you know, or issues that that a lot of projects face, especially ones that are trying to start up, is the lack of like intelligent investing. And with that statement, you know, there's a bunch of things that come with it in terms of people not doing their due diligence. You have impatient investors, and then you have investors that are major holders, and then they want to sort of destroy the project, or maybe, you know, they'll dump on other holders. And I think that these are issues that a lot of blockchains face, like especially ones that, I should say, the ones that are having DeFi projects on, like, within their networks, for example, like Uniswap projects, or projects on PancakeSwap, or etc. And you know, that was what our whole sort of MO was with LONDEX, and it was always to try to clean up the space and, you know, make it a safer place for, if you want to invest $20, you can be safe knowing that you're not going to get, you know, dumped on by, you know, major, like a whale or something, right? So I think especially for new investors, it's very daunting when you step into crypto and you see that all these people and how much they hold and stuff, and it's like, it could be a bit of like, and it's a bit of a shell shock in a way, because you know, they don't see such volatility in maybe their other investments that they're into, like, that aren't crypto, right? So I definitely think that. And then another major issue that I think is that we're facing is scamming. I like that was LONDEX's whole purpose, was to protect protect the investors, and that's why we developed, you know, what we call it, our Guardian AI. And this is our AI technology that's able to, you know, seek out scammers' wallets, and, you know, make sure that they're never able to withdraw tokens, or, you know, get away with a sell. Obviously, like, it's not perfect, and, you know, but to date, we've been able to recover 500 and almost $520,000 in scam tokens. And so I really believe with more projects with these sort of initiatives, that will be able to rid the space of these you know, these daunting sort of issues that are plaguing some of the networks right now.
Yeah, that's great to hear. There's so many baby Flocky, Elon, Dodge, Elon, Flocky going around. So it's definitely
Exactly.
definitely
Exactly.
daunting all the people. So really good to hear that there are projects out there that's trying to take care of this. Um, Dan, Torres, any thoughts on the current problems or anything that you would both like to share about the blockchain ecosystem?
Well, there's many issues regarding this bottlenecks overall, technological. You see, we haven't come to a point yet where we can have a full certainty on the security of the net. And also, as you know, recently we just had the bridge of Solana and Ethereum being hacked for the value of 320 millions. Everybody knows that, right? So what is happening that in the bridge contracts or during the synchronization or validations of those consensus, there are holes and points of weaknesses that have to be solved. Technically, we haven't come to a point that we are 100% certain that nothing is going to happen, and we have to work on those few little things, which are actually very important, and that might we might lose people's trust on blockchain, on the cryptocurrency attached to blockchains, right? Or because it is not only the blockchains creating cryptos, right? But those investors, as DJ Sir was actually saying, was we got to protect the investors. We have to protect the trust they have on the different blockchains or projects that are actually currently happening, right? So technically, we still have to put some efforts in the next few years, and yeah, so we have the bottlenecks of scalability, which at the same time affects, and it just leaves us a bit like with our pants down a little bit. If we're trying to solve the scalability issue, we are endangering, or we're actually open up. We are giving the hackers the possibility to act upon those weaknesses. So the scalability and the security are right now problems that we have to scalability with the security, which goes parallel, right? Yeah, this is what I see as a strong bottleneck. I've been actually having a look lately to what is actually happening and how to solve those little problems, and we were paying very much attention to those bridges that we actually have come to solve, but as hackers are always sometimes one step ahead of us, we are always, as McAfee used to say, we don't hire computer science guys, we hire hackers because they know how the system works. So we're always trying to, like a bit like a CIA would do, right? Create a scenario and see how we would solve this, right?
Sure, for sure. Definitely. I have a few thoughts on my own as well, but before that, Dan?
No, let's hear your thoughts, Lee.
All right, cool. I think the biggest problem here, I think, at this point is that people don't understand still that we are at the infrastructure age, right? So like that's where I get to talk about Filecoin here a bit. Like we have the biggest blockchains. If you look at CoinMarketCap, top 10, right? You have Ethereum, you have Solana, let's say Cardano, Binance Chain, name it. I'm forgetting probably dozens of them, but we're still in the computational layer, right? So you compute things, you have smart contracts, you have this DeFi world going crazy, NFT world going crazy. Let's not forget Metaverse and all that stuff, right? But we are still very early on the storage layers, right? So if you have all these decentralized networks and computational platforms, where is the storage layer, right? Just like a computer needs to have a RAM, 8 GPU, CPU core. Well, you also need a hard drive. You also need an SSD drive, right, to store this enormous amount of data that the internet basically has, right? And that's where these projects like Filecoin, right, and also their other competing projects come into play. Where and these go hand in hand, right? I'm still paranoid about when I use MetaMask, right, with the whole security stuff of using like a hardware wallet or your basically exchanges getting hacked. And I think like that's still a lot of work to be done. And we're at the infrastructure age, right? So what I mean by that, so before computers came in, you had to have microprocessors. You need to have small hard drive, disk drives, or microprocessors. And over time, right, from mainframe computers, it became to personal computers, and then the whole internet kind of expanded or exploded with all the applications. And I think we're still very early, and I think it's a very estimated aspect of the cryptocurrency world. We are just 10 years into the industry, right? Computing has been there for 50, 60, 70 years probably, and that's something, that's my 2 cents on the problems on the ecosystem. Then
yeah, there's been a lot of interesting discussion around this topic lately, lots of different kind of think pieces coming out and lots of opportunities to reflect on some of these issues. And I think one of the through lines that I've noticed is that when people talk about the problems in our space, they seem to go back to this hyper focus on profitability or money or something. And I think, this is fair. We live in a world where this is something that's very important. And in particular, it's something that's become very deeply entwined with the technology industry, which I think is, the world that we live in. And then, taking it a step further, you have this kind of what I would describe as a technical requirement for most blockchains, that they have some sort of a native cryptocurrency that acts as a value store to incentivize good behavior. And it's reasonable to think that different types of decentralized financial markets or whatnot would spring up around this. But in some ways, I think that it almost speaks to like a fundamental misunderstanding of what the technology is meant to do and the types of systems that it's meant to create. And so I think looking, really thinking in terms of technologies for decentralization and what does that mean? What systems do we want to be decentralized? And probably understanding that a decentralized system will never be as scalable as a centralized system, either in terms of efficiency or scale of size or whatever. And understanding when does it make sense to pay that price. And so really, Torres, you were mentioning that there's this kind of existential risk of the ecosystem with things getting too complicated. And I think this all kind of goes back to that the more that we lose sight of the fundamental capabilities of these technologies to build new and better systems that don't necessarily rely on money or have the goal of, let's think about it, a system where people are able to become vastly wealthy is kind of the antithesis of what we're all seeking to create. And so now I'll take a moment to shill the Polkadot ecosystem, which is, definitely my favorite place that I find the most interesting and compelling. And I think one of the reasons is because you see some really exciting examples of DAOs and different governance capabilities, which I think is really where, thinking in terms of like, okay, maybe some of these things that we've been focusing on have been liabilities. What are some of the things that we could focus on that would be really compelling opportunities? And I think DAOs and truly decentralized governance and human interaction is kind of what's going to propel this space forward.
Amazing, Dan. Amazing, Dan. Some counterintuitive points here from what the industry as a whole is thinking. I think it was a pretty interesting insight. Cool, cool. All right. So let's move on to one of our different type of questions. So we have a variety of conversation going on there. And I think I will pass this first to Dan because I know he loves talking about blockchain communities as a whole and building communities, developer communities, or how do you build a community, or what does it even mean to be part of a blockchain community? So take it away. And Sir DJ Torres, if you have any thoughts, we will get to you after that.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it pretty short. And I think luckily this is a little bit more of a simpler question from my point of view than the last one. And the way that you build a good community is just really always coming from a place of service to that community, I would say. And I mean, a wise man once said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. I mean, it really goes back to that sort of a thing, especially in a space that is kind of value driven like we are. People are pretty keen and should be sensitive to people that are building communities that don't necessarily have their best interest in mind. And so I think just always keeping the focus on that, making sure that you're providing value to the people in your community and doing so with like humility and genuinely caring about what their experience is like. There's no secrets to it. So that's an easy question for me to answer. But thanks. It's something I take very seriously, and yeah, but that's kind of how I look at it.
Well, thank you, Dan. Sir DJ Torres.
Yeah, most definitely, Dan. In full agreement with you there, but it's my whole job with LONDEX is basically I host I call it the shill sessions with Sir DJ the Goat, and for about anywhere from 2.5 to 4 hours a day, I'll be hosting live on camera, mixing music live for the community in our voice chat. It's a lot of fun. Sometimes I splurge on giveaways. Sometimes it's just strictly business. Sometimes it's just there for the vibes and the good times. But I've always tried to establish that personal connection with my community. And the world we live in now, you can't always be in person. So going on camera was a big thing for me. I'm a super animated guy. I didn't know I was gonna. I'm sorry I'm not on camera today with you guys, but yeah, I was just mixed up with the timings, so I do apologize. But no, if you guys ever want to catch me, you can fully see me on voice chat, and I always make the announcements from my Twitter or something like that. And then that's another thing too is I wanted to segue into is the Twitter Spaces. I think it's been a great new feature from Twitter, and just the rise of it in the crypto space and Metaverse and NFT projects. It's been an extremely useful tool for not only sustaining your community, but getting it out there without going the traditional route of getting an influencer to post. Because me personally, I think that the influencers have really tarnished what community is, given the fact that these guys will charge anywhere from 5 to 20K for a tweet, and they have zero loyalty to the project. They have zero loyalty to the community, yet they act as if they do, and they bring in maybe, let's say, hundreds or thousands of investors, ultimately only to just dump on them. So I've seen it happen in multiple projects. I've seen it happen with LONDEX. It's very unfortunate that it happens, but with the rise of Twitter Spaces and more engagement, like Dan spoke on prior to me, this will continue to cultivate like the right ways and the right communities that we all want in our projects or projects that we're a part of.
Great points. Taurus?
Raj, I'd like to address something I'd like to say something about what Dan was saying regarding this huge expansion which is about to happen, you see, we are creating, maybe for the first time, the tools to be given to people to develop for the first time in history their wealth. And probably we can actually do a parallelism. I don't know if you guys have ever invested in the stock market before cryptocurrency started. I did not. And everything was done through a complex systems of brokers with candles that we didn't understand, graphs that we never had a look to. The Financial Times was there. We as normal people, we were never introduced to this kind of financial system, right? And as I can see now is we are now being able to give the chance to create wealth to every person right now. You see, we are maybe changing the conditions for the first time in history where people are going to be able to create their own wealth. Now we're still in a very quasi, almost primitive state, because we all guys are into the system, developing projects, but we are seeing how society is actually still stuck. People talk about blockchains, cryptocurrency, NFTs, the upcoming Metaverse, what is going to happen in Metaverse, but it is also scattered, disseminated, and so literally, that we have to start bringing all the information in a more organized way so people can actually approach it, use it in a more organized way. Now, the thing is that so far we have lived in a centralized banking system. Decentralization is a threat to governments. And as Dan was saying, is that don't, do for your country, not what your country can do for you, is do for your country, not what your country can do for you, right? Isn't it, Dan? Right? But it's actually, this country thing has always been an intellectia. We don't really understand do you really do something for your country? Where is the country? We don't understand quite the term of, it's ungraspable almost. When you try to seize it, it just falls apart, right? So it's actually not, it's not the country, it's actually the government. The government is using always a proper language so as to trap us. So maybe this decentralization is, I see it, the first time we created the tools, and we have the tools to organize our societies and our communities the way we want it, in a free space, without the control dictated by governments.
Very powerful message right there, Taurus. And I think something that I also wanted to share is you're talking about this democratization, of wealth, right? And sometimes, when I talk to people, they say, well, how is that even possible or whatnot? This is a very simple example, but today in the 21st century, right, a majority of us, to be politically correct, not probably all, are living lives better than the greatest of the kings in the past. And the reason is because they just didn't have the technology at that time to help them enable it, right? You just didn't have the technology to do it. And if you think about it, as just a person living in, Canada here, my life has been much better than probably historically from a lot of the kings and queens of 17th, 16th century, just because I have the technology, right? And that's something that enables us to do. Well, we are almost at the end of our time, but I do want to take the last question, as a fun thing, and I do have something to share on the Filecoin ecosystem. So I'll just use this so we can take a quick, a few sentences to wrap things up with this. So the question would be, what is the next biggest thing in crypto? And obviously, I think it's storage, right? because I'm within the Filecoin ecosystem, but we have some interesting stuff going on here as well. Recently, Filecoin is launching their Filecoin virtual machine. So not only we will have the storage layer on the ecosystem, but on top of that, smart contract computational platform that allows a lot of different blockchain agnostic computation. So it first will be EVM compatible, and then we will move to a lot of different, Rust compatible blockchains and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Forest will be basically a fully complete Forest Rust node for the Filecoin ecosystem. And I think that's going to be really, really interesting protocol with not only storage capacities, but also smart contract capacities. We would be seeing quite a lot of different applications. But that's kind of what I wanted to share, as well as shill to the community, for lack of a better word. And feel free to share your insights on what is the next biggest thing and where the industry is going in the most concise way as we all can. All right, who wants to go first? Any raise of hands, or should I just go one by one? Let's go, Sir DJ, Dan, and we'll conclude with Taurus.
Yeah, cool. So I think the next biggest thing, and this is obviously going to be, I guess this is the segue where we all shill our thing. So I guess that for me, the next biggest thing is what we're doing at LONDEX. So basically, it's super untraditional to other BSC projects, but basically the top 75 holders in the project have all. We have like an agreement that we've all locked our wallets for the longevity of the project, as well as for the safety net, or to create a safety net for new investors or smaller investors. And on top of all of that, we've also put in place where you can only do a max transaction per week, so that there's not major pumps and dumps on our chart. And this is, again, to create a safety, sort of a new, for people that want to get into the BSC or into crypto in general. We're trying to create a new wave of how it can be a safe place for you, where you can know that you can invest in this project and you're going to be safe, and you're not going to get dumped on by a major whale tomorrow or the next day. So you don't have to have that fear, per se. And then so I think that's the next biggest thing with these projects, especially new startups, to create like a positive trading environment, and to create a safe, again, ecosystem for new investors and new people into crypto. It's going to be measures put in place like this, so that we can have that sort of ease of mind, and knowing that I can sleep at night knowing that I'm not going to get dumped on tomorrow. You know what I mean? So I think that's going to be like, you'll see some projects coming out that are going to be taking these measures, and there's hundreds of projects out there already to this day that are fully fledged top 100 altcoins that have these protocols in place, and they have seen success just by looking out for their investors. So I believe that's going to be the next big wave.
Cool. Thank you, Sir DJ. No rug pulls, basically. Then?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that the next big wave is more focused on decentralized governance. And, kind of, I appreciated Torres's reflections on some of the things that I've said. And so I'll, reflect on some of his thoughts and kind of say that, potentially using some of the capabilities of Web3 technologies, we may be able to build systems where people don't feel compelled to amass wealth, where you may be able to have a quality of life like a king or a queen or whatever, take the benefits of the system without needing to feel like you have to hoard wealth or whatever. And so I hope that is the next big thing for the ecosystem. And, certainly I think there's a lot of examples of that in Polkadot. I'll jump on the shill train with everyone else. Gossamer is such an exciting network of people that has its own governance, and then also kind of like a fraternity that's like for funsies, I would say. Sigma Kappa Mu, I think it's called. So I know that Polkadot and Substrate and all this stuff can be a little bit confusing sometimes. So now I'll go ahead and chill myself and say that if you're ever wanting to learn a little bit about it, but like feeling confused, hit me up, dan.forbes@chainsafe.io or at danforbesdev on Twitter. Smash that like and subscribe button. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Thank you, Dan. We will conclude our panel with Taurus's input.
Yeah, well, we've been working some on the DAO, yeah, well, it's giving a good, it's been giving some good results. The community-driven DAO, I think it will give a good impact on revenues within the DeFi environment. So we have been observing that this little creation that we're working on right now is it's turning out to be this decentralized autonomous organization. It's working quite suitable for everyone, and we're actually having a good answer, a good feedback on this, on our work, on the work we've developed here.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. Well, thank you everybody for sharing your thoughts and insights and answering the questions. It was definitely fun, informative, and insightful. Having said that, I will pass on to the Crypto Carnival host, and that will be all.